Now for this week's video tutorial, I thought I would do something a little bit different. So instead of giving you a tutorial on how to make a cake, I'm going to be going through how to price a cake. Now I know from my own personal experience, especially when you're starting out selling cakes, this can be really tricky to know how much to charge. I see so often people putting photos on social media groups of cakes and asking, how much would you charge for this cake? They then end up with loads of different comments from people all over the world. The prices are in different currencies and there's no actual explanation of how they got to those prices. So in this week's video tutorial, I'm going to be going through different things that you want to consider if you're thinking about starting to price your cakes. Maybe you're already selling your cakes and you're not quite sure that your prices are quite right. Or maybe you're someone who's looking for a cake and you're not sure how cake makers price up their cakes. I really hope you'll find this video useful, so let's get started. Now, one thing I did want to mention before I jump in to how to price your cakes is if you are a hobby baker and you're thinking of starting to sell your cakes or your cupcakes, is make sure that you have a look at the rules, the guidelines or the laws in the area that you live, just to make sure that you're registered correctly in order to sell your cakes. Okay, so the first thing we must do when thinking about pricing our cakes is work out how much the cake is going to cost or the cupcakes that somebody is asking for. So this is your ingredients and any materials that you're going to need for your cake. Now, this is going to be different from person to person. Maybe you buy your ingredients from a supermarket, maybe you buy them wholesale, maybe you buy your materials just from a local cake shop, or maybe you buy in bulk. So everyone's prices are going to be slightly different for their ingredients and the materials, and even these are going to be different depending on where you live. Now, if you regularly make the same kind of cake, so maybe you make 6-inch cakes or 8-inch cakes and you have 3 recipes that you usually make, work out how much the ingredients for each of those cakes is going to cost. And this is going to speed it up when you need to price a cake. So for example, if your recipe calls for 500 grams of flour, work out how much 500 grams of flour costs you. Work out how much each of your eggs cost, and then you can work out how much each of your cakes is going to cost to make. Now, in terms of materials, this includes cake boards, maybe any ribbon if you add ribbon around the bottom of your cake boards, how much your cake boxes cost, whether you need to add a fondant onto your cakes, and anything like dowels. This is going to give you the price that your total cake is going to cost to make. So you need to make sure that the price you're charging somebody is more than it costs to make. Now, you guys know as well as I do, prices can fluctuate in the supermarket or in cake shops. So you want to keep an eye on the price of your ingredients and your materials. So maybe every few months, just have a look at the prices, whether you've got these kept in a notebook or on a spreadsheet, and just check that, for instance, butter hasn't got a lot more expensive. So you need to reflect any increase in price of your ingredients and your materials in the price of your cakes. Okay, so the next thing that you want to think about when pricing your cakes is how long is the cake going to take you to make from start to finish, and how much is your time worth. So this is preparing your cake, this is baking your cake, decorating your cake, and finishing your cake off. And don't forget about the time that it takes to go and get ingredients if you have to go to the supermarket, and your clear up time too. Now, just like with any job, if you go in at the beginning when you're just starting to develop your skills, maybe you'll start on minimum wage, but the more experience that you gain and the longer you've been doing it for, you can start charging a little bit more. So maybe if you're new to this and you don't have much experience, think about charging minimum wage, but make sure that you're valuing your time and the skills that you have. If someone is coming to you for a bespoke custom cake, it's because they appreciate the skills that you have. So you really want to make sure that you're not undercharging. You just want to make sure that you're adding value to your time and your skills. So you're getting paid for the time that it takes to create the cake that somebody is asking for. The one thing that you want to make sure that you're not doing is, if somebody asks for a cake, you're only actually covering the ingredients, and technically you're going to work for free. Now, my one piece of advice when thinking about how much your time is worth is make sure it's a value that you're comfortable with. The worst thing that you want to do is be making cakes and feel quite resentful that you're not earning what you feel like you should be. So make sure that you're adding value to your time. Now, I know this can be really hard to work out kind of where you sit within a pay scale. So do your research, have a look at your local area, see if you can see any advertisements for jobs and see how much those kind of jobs are paying for the different skill levels. If you do know any cake makers within your community, talk to them and just try and work out kind of where you sit and how much you should be charging. Now, another thing you want to consider when thinking about pricing your cakes are your cakes going to be collected or will you be delivering your cakes? So how much time is it going to take to get to the venue? How much time will it take you to set up the cake? And also how much time is it going to take for you to get back? And how much petrol are you going to use? So that will be your delivery costs. So we've got the cost of making the cake and we've got the cost of your time. The next thing you want to think about are overheads. So these are things that come into play with the running of your business. So this is things from your equipment, so say your mixers, your ovens, to things like, do you need to pay rent on a studio or do you have a shop? Obviously, if you work from home, your overheads are going to be a lot less than somebody that has a shop or a bakery. Do you buy business cards? Do you get advertising? Any insurances that you need to pay? If you make wedding cakes, for example, do you attend wedding fairs? Do you offer consultations with samples? So all of this money is coming out of your business. So your cakes need to cover this cost. You need to work out roughly how many cakes are you making in a week or a month or a year, and what overheads do you have, and how much do you need to add onto each cake to cover any costs that your business is incurring. Also think about the fact that a lot of cake makers are self-employed, so you don't get sick pay and you don't get holiday pay, so you also need to make sure that the cost of those things are covered in the cost of the cakes that you're making. So how much do you need to add to each of your cakes to cover those overheads that you're paying out for every year? Now, I know this can sound super daunting, but you just want to make sure at the end of the week or the end of the month or at the end of the year, all the cakes that you're making are covering your business costs, the ingredients costs, and you're earning a wage for your time. Also with overheads, think about time. So if somebody's emailed you, you might be going backwards and forwards with emails for like half an hour. You might collect photos for that person that's taking you another half an hour. This is all things that are going to take time within your business. So is there any additional money or additional profit that you want to add on to each of your cakes just to make sure that at the end of the month or the end of the year, you're earning your wages? Okay, so we've got the cost of making the cake, we've got the cost of your time, we've added on some overheads, and we've thought about delivery. Now, the next thing you want to do as you put the price together for your customer is just do a little bit of research. Each cake business is different, but just have a look around your local area and see what different cake makers are charging depending on their skill levels, and see how your prices fit in. Now, it really helps to do your research locally, as obviously different places can charge different amounts. If you were to go to London, for example, prices there might be slightly higher than if you live in a small village somewhere. So make sure your prices are competitive to where you live. Now, once you've worked out all of those different elements and you know where the price for your cakes is coming from, then be confident with that price. This is the biggest advice I can give you, because there's always going to be people that come to you and tell you that your cakes are too expensive, they don't want to pay that, somebody else can do it cheaper for them, they'll ask you for a discount. But by adding that discount on, you still need to cover the price of your ingredients and you still need to cover the overheads of your business. So where that discount is coming from is your wages, your time. So you end up working for a lower amount or for free. So if you're charging minimum wage, what that person is actually asking is for you to work below minimum wage. The worst thing is when you spend hours and hours on a cake and you realize that you actually didn't make any money. So you want to make sure that you're confident with your prices. So you need to find a balance between people paying your prices, but also you being comfortable with what you're charging. And the more experience you have, the more comfortable you'll get with putting your prices together. Okay, so I know we've gone through so much in this video, but I really hope that some of the things that I've been talking about will be useful if you're thinking about starting to sell your cakes, or maybe you have already been selling your cakes and there were things that you didn't even think of. Also, please let me know in the comments below, is there anything that you add to your pricing that I didn't even mention that some other people might find useful? I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please don't forget to give it a like, and if you'd like to see more business type videos like this, then please do let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Cakes by Leanne's YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you're alerted every time I upload a new video. Now, I will put everything that I've spoken about in today's video over on the Cakes by Leanne's website so you can have a read through. So don't forget to head over there, and I will see you next time.